Please welcome to the stage the Director of Facilities, Grounds, and Sustainability for the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library, Jen Carroll.
Good evening, and welcome to the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library. What you see this evening is the beginning of tomorrow's prairie. Every grass and wildflower began as a native seed, hand-collected by community volunteers from within a 50-mile radius of our site, then grown by our restoration consultants and partners at North Dakota State University. Before being planted here, this isn't just a landscape, it's a hand-planted working ecosystem. Every grass, flower, and pollinator plays a role in bringing this prairie back to life, creating habitat for wildlife and restoring one of North America's most endangered landscapes. As you explore, we invite you to experience this place with the same respect and wonder that inspired Theodore Roosevelt. By staying on designated paths and gathering areas, your help protects years of restoration work and ensures this prairie continues to inspire and flourish generations to come. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and fellow Americans, tonight we welcome a leader whose boundless energy and fierce conviction defined the dawn of the American century. He brings with him that same legendary fervor that reshaped our nation. Please, put your hands together and give a thunderous Rough Rider welcome to the champion of our majestic wilderness, the 26th President of the United States, the one, the only, Theodore Roosevelt.
Bully! Bully indeed! Bully! I am Theodore Roosevelt. Welcome to Medora, the Badlands, North Dakota, the United States of America, and the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library and Museum. Bully, look about you. Look at these natural wonders. The way the evening sun plays across the grasslands and the buttes just beyond the alluvial bottomlands of the Little Missouri River. Is there any wonder that I said it was here that the romance of my life began? I first came here in 1883 to hunt a bison bull, and I returned to New York City a cattle rancher. You know your history, it's told here. It's part of the reason this museum is here. I said I would have never been president but for my experiences in North Dakota. And between that visit in 1883 to hunt the bison, to buy the cattle, to start the Maltese Cross Ranch just south at Chimney Butte, between that time and my return in 1884, the black X in my diary, the words, the light has gone out of my life, the death of wife and mother on the same day in turn in my arms beneath the same roof in New York City. What you may not have heard is that there is a prologue of tragedy and healing in recovery, in nature, and fellowship in my life. We here earlier today were so joyful to see so many of the Roosevelt family in attendance. You might know that there are also amongst us today Sewells and Dows.
Mission
when
control.
I was a 19-year-old sophomore at Harvard, my father, Theodore Roosevelt, the man for whom I'm named and the greatest man I ever knew, he died of stomach cancer, age 46. The entire city of New York in mourning for his widow and 4 children. And on 5 trips that I took to the northwoods of Maine, to the great Aroostook country along the Penobscot River, I hunted and hiked and canoed with William Sewell and Wilmot Dow. We climbed Katahdin. We dragged our canoes upstream along the torrent of the Penobscot. And I spent time with the men of the lumber camps. And I showed myself able to get along and communicate and fellowship with those men, to learn from them and them from me. So there was prologue for my experience here. To return in 1884 to establish the Elkhorn Ranch. Do you know who my ranch hands were at the Elkhorn? William Sewell and Wilmot Dow, those men from the North Woods of Maine. Because when men and women work together, we learn that iron sharpens iron. And the face of a friend is a sharpening thing too. Sewell and Dow not only came to the Elkhorn, and men mighty with the axe and saw helped me to build the ranch house and the ancillary buildings. Mrs. Sewell and Mrs. Dow came to the Elkhorn. Each of those women had a baby at the Elkhorn Ranch in heat that would make today look like a spring day. They were hearty, honest, hard-working. So I came here to be in nature, but I also came here to work, to ranch, to hunt, and did so in fellowship with the ranchers and the cowboys of these Badlands. You know the story. My first host was Gregor Lang, William Merrifield, Joe Ferris, Sylvain Ferris, the men who worked my ranch to the south. Joe Ferris starting his general store here in Medora. Those men and the other men with whom I worked, I went from being old Four Eyes, a weak and sickly young New Yorker, to being a man of the West. I tested myself and I found myself worthy. When my cowboys were in saddle, so was I. Sometimes riding the trail herd at the most monotonous of places, 16, 18 hours a day in saddle. Then to be greeted by excitement as we raced the herd across rivers brimmed with running ice. It was here, still, the Wild West, the West of Owen Wister's stories, Frederick Remington's paintings and drawings. 'Twas not all romance. We knew toil, hardship, hunger, and thirst. We worked beneath the blazing summer sun and with the bitter bite of winter in our faces. We saw men die violent deaths amongst the horses and the cattle and in evil feuds with one another. But ours was the glory of work and the joy of living as free men. We celebrate being free men and free women today, our semi-quincentennial. We offer to each and every citizen a fair share of this republic, not only its rights, but its duties as well. We had a duty here to be a good neighbor. I ask you this July 4th, look about you and see these natural wonders. And look about yourselves. Look across the way. Make a new friend and say hello to a neighbor, for we're all in this together as Americans. And remember, we're making new Americans, and we should be proud of it too. Those names I mentioned, Gregor Lang from Scotland, Joe and Sylvain Ferris from New Brunswick, Bill Merrifield from Quebec and Ontario. Do you know that when we sing God Bless America, we're singing a song written by Irving Berlin, a Russian immigrant Jew who helped us in 1918 with the great hymn of America. Ours is a country welcome to anyone who will pledge allegiance to our flag and to the republic for which it stands. Careful, that gives inspiration to a politician to keep talking too long. And you know I spoke in Milwaukee in 1912 for 80 minutes with a bullet in my chest. My remarks this evening must be brief. We give thanks to those who signed the Declaration of Independence 250 years ago. In the words of Abraham Lincoln in 1863, we did not yet know if that experiment of by and for the people being the government, whether or not that would long live. Well, we've made it 12 score and 10 years. proud of our past, thrilled by our present, and challenged by our future. A future in which I ask you to do your good deeds for your families, your home community, for your schools, conservation, for your churches, your temples, your synagogues. Do good deeds, and you'll likely be criticized. Persist in them, and pay no heed to the critic, because remember, it is not the critic who counts. Not the man who points out how the strong man stumbled or where the doer of deeds might have done them better. The credit belongs to the man, and today to the woman who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who knows the great devotions, who actually does the deed, who spends herself in a worthy cause, and who in the end, at the best, knows the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Bully indeed. Good citizens, I've been asked to offer a toast. I hope that in the spirit of hydrating, some of you might have a little something that you might raise. My toast stands in gratitude for all who've come before and all who share the responsibility of good citizenship. I'm going to toast 2 words. I ask you to repeat them in a response to that toast. We'll do so on 1, 2, 3, to America! America! Bully! And now, giving thanks for those who serve, the greatest music in the land, played by its greatest band, the 188th Army Band, North Dakota Army National Guard. Bully!
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Brigadier General Mitch Johnson, the North Dakota National Guard Adjutant General, welcome to this performance by North Dakota's own 188th Army Band. We are a part-time performing group, serving our state and nation through sharing music and spreading the message of service, unity, and teamwork. Tonight's performance will feature our concert and one special piece by Top Down, our saxophone quartet. Thank you for sharing this evening with us and helping us to celebrate the 250 years of freedom our nation achieved on July 4th, 1776. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and join me in singing the national anthem. It is appropriate to remove any headgear and place your right hand over your heart. Veterans in attendance may render a salute, and servicemen and women in uniform should stand at attention. The 188th Army Band is led by our command team. Commander, Chief Warrant Officer 3, James Landman, and our senior enlisted leader, First Sergeant Deanne Filling. Let's give them a hand. To help celebrate 250 years of our great nation, we will next perform a set of 2 marches. The first march is a new work, dedicated specifically to honoring our nation's 250th anniversary. The composer, Joe LaRosa, hopes to have it performed in all 50 states this year. There are fun opportunities for you to join us in cheering USA and 250 along with the performance. Please follow our audience aids for the cues, and the cheering start right as the music begins. We will immediately transition into another march, The Americans We, by Henry Fillmore. As the composer stated himself, Americans We is the perfect title because it is simply dedicated to all of us. Here is the march tribute to 250 years of the United States of America. USA 250. USA Our program continues with a piece dedicated to a powerful work of art that lays in a field in Iowa. Artist Ray Sorensen discovered a rock that had been painted with graffiti. He decided that the rock should be properly painted and did so with truly remarkable skill. He emblazoned the sides of the rock with battle scenes from our nation's history, including Washington's crossing of the Delaware and a scene from 9/11. Fragments of speeches from American presidents are included, and an American flag drapes the rock, now known as Freedom Rock. This band composition pays tribute to the theme of Freedom Rock and includes the presidential speech fragments that can be found on the rock. This work also pays tribute to the many generations of Americans that worked and fought to maintain our liberty. It has musical quotes from the Battle Cry of Freedom, Yankee Doodle, The Girl I Left Behind, the Army, Marines, and Navy songs, as well as Chester, Battle Hymn of the Republic, and America the Beautiful. This is The Message on the Rock. Confide in our strength without boasting of it. We respect that of others without fearing it. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and success of freedom. We will not waver, we will not tire, we will not falter, and we will not fail. Peace and freedom will prevail. All gave some gave all. Next, we will perform another famous march, Hosts of Freedom. This original march, written by Carl King, has been widely used both by circus bands as an up-tempo closer and by school bands as an approachable march to introduce march form and the unique melody and counter-melody format of many American marches. The 188th Army Band uses this as one of our street marching pieces, and we are excited to have it as part of our program today. North Dakota earned its statehood in 1889, becoming the 39th state in the nation. To pay tribute to our great state, our next selection is North Dakota's official march, the Flicker Tail. The march is named after the Richardson's ground squirrels, slightly smaller and more social creatures than prairie dogs, that are prevalent throughout our state, which are also known as flicker tails, due to the characteristic flick of their tails while running or just before they enter their burrows. The march was composed by one of North Dakota's most notable composers, James Ployhar. He has been credited with roughly 800 music publications in his career, making him one of the most prolific composers in American history. He attended Valley City State University, and there is still an honor band there every year in his honor. Please enjoy North Dakota State March, the Flicker Tail. Concert band music has evolved and adapted a lot over the past 120 years, since the Holst's first suite in E-flat was written. Many modern composers write music for certain events, ceremonies, dedications, and in tribute to particular regions of the country. This next piece is a programmatic work that depicts a bustling mill town on the banks of the Merrimack River. Lowell, Massachusetts has a history rich in the traditions of the Irish settlers who lived and worked in its mills. This piece presents a musical portrait of this region. Opening with a view of the river on a misty morning, the music flows with the river into the city of Lowell, where industry and the Irish heritage of its settlers are represented. These two main musical themes are then brought together in a way that depicts the bond between the city and its founding citizens. Please enjoy Mills on the Merrimack. Theodore Roosevelt was the 26th President of the United States, serving from 1901 until 1909. We wanted to share a special fact about Teddy Roosevelt that many have heard, but bears repeating. Teddy frequently used the term bully, now widely coveted as a beloved Teddyism, and is commonplace to hear anywhere in Medora. The term was coined by Teddy, who referred to his office as a bully pulpit, meaning a good platform from which to advocate an agenda. Roosevelt used the word bully as an adjective meaning superb or wonderful. We now pay tribute to Teddy Roosevelt and the wonderful spirit of Medora by performing the Rough Rider Gallop, written in 1943 by Carl King to honor the original Rough Rider himself, Teddy Roosevelt. Bully. Next, we will perform an armed forces medley to pay tribute to those who have served, are serving, and the family members that serve alongside them. We invite you to stand when you hear your or your loved one's service song played so we can recognize your commitment to protecting our nation and ensuring our freedom. The order for the service songs will be Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard.
First I fight
save or fight, and I, oh scorn we are for you.
We're gonna add in right now, we're gonna add in a tune. Let's do review.
The next piece is another march that is steeped in tradition, being used from circus and parade bands to football and military bands. The composer, Charles Edward Dubel, was a trombone player and made sure to give interesting parts to the low brass. And more things that make bravura a unique march are the introduction and the first strain being in a minor key, and the first repeated section including a full repeat of the introduction. Military bands around the world still use this piece for ceremonial, marching, and concert purposes. Originally written in 1918, this is bravura. We love North Dakota and the sprawling plains, the long summer days, and the changing of the seasons. But let's be clear, a winter vacation to warmer weather can have a special feeling to it. This next piece was written to appreciate just that. The Caribbean islands are very preposterous thanks to many tourists who visit there. The Bahamas alone receive 2 million visitors every year. The brilliant sun, the blue sea, and the white beaches hold a great attraction to vacationers. Water sports enthusiasts can swim, sail, and dive to their heart's content, not to mention the wonderful beauty of the coral reefs are well worth a visit. In this composition, Johann Nisch depicts the atmosphere of the Caribbean, first describing the dawn and the long awakening of the group of islands, followed by a section of energetic vitality that uses the calypso style that is prominent in the Bahamas. This is Caribbean Sunrise. Originally composed in 1918 during World War I, God Bless America became popular in 1938 when its composer, Irving Berlin, revisited the song and made a few changes in hopes of inspiring his fellow Americans to live in harmony. Whole-scale popularity and widespread use followed, and the work still stands today as an emblem of the American spirit. To enhance this monumental song, we will be featuring our 188th vocal ensemble, comprised of members First Sergeant Deanne Filling, Sergeant First Class Nathan Johnson, Staff Sergeant Augustus Tanberg, Sergeant Casey Edwards-Paul, Sergeant Natalie Helfrich, Staff Sergeant Leah Brooks, and myself, Specialist Elijah O'Sullivan. Please join us in singing on the last chorus of the song, When the Singers Cue You. Our final selection by John Philip Sousa is the official march of the United States, and known around the world. The Stars and Stripes Forever is an iconic piece that audiences have come to expect at military concerts, and still brings so much joy to our commander every time that we play it. Thank you again for joining us tonight to help honor and celebrate our nation's 250 years of freedom. Following this piece will be a brief intermission, and then the drone show will begin.
Please welcome to the stage the Chief Executive Officer of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library, Edward F. O'Keefe.
Good evening, Medora. How about the 188th Army National Guard Army Band? That was incredible. So we have two very important things to do before we do the drone show. Number one, we need to turn out the lights in the TR library. And the second thing, I need to introduce you to a very important person. This is Alton O'Keefe, my son. When he comes back out, we're going to do a countdown from 10. And when we get through that countdown, we're going to all say one very important word together. What is that word, Alton?
Bully.
All right, you got to say bully or the drones won't fly. We'll see you in just a few minutes for the drone show.
Mission Control, we are T-minus 5 minutes to launch. Mission Control, we are T-minus 4 minutes to launch. Mission Control, we are T-minus 3 minutes to launch. Mission Control, we are T-minus 2 minutes to launch. Mission Control. We are T-minus 1 minute to launch.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to start counting down. 10, 9, 8,
Tonight,
7,
under these North
6,
Dakota skies,
5, 4,
we stand where
3,
Theodore Roosevelt
2,
once stood.
1, bullet!
Humbled by this land, called in service to this country, and awed by the beauty of the Badlands. As we celebrate the nation's 250th birthday, we believe, as Theodore Roosevelt did, that the best of America is still to come. Happy Independence Day, and welcome to the grand opening of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library. Let the show begin. It was the height of the Spanish-American War in Cuba. Enemy gunfire pinned down the Rough Riders at the base of Kettle Hill. Their leader was Theodore Roosevelt. And in that moment, he made a choice that would define him forever. There was no grand speech, no fanfare. He mounted his horse, raised his sword, and charged straight up the hill into a hail of bullets. His men heard the call and followed him to victory. This was his crowded hour. A life-defining choice to act boldly and against the odds in service of a noble cause. In any moment of decision, Roosevelt said, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. For Roosevelt, leadership was moral courage in action. lived that courage every day of his life. As governor and president, he put principle over party, fought corruption when others looked away, protected our natural wonders on behalf of the American people. Time and again, Roosevelt showed us that moral courage means to do what's right rather than what's popular. Leadership is not about having all the answers. It's about having the guts to ride out front. And if you should fail, fail while daring greatly. Because this nation was not built by the timid, and it will only be carried on by the bold. Roosevelt's life of leadership levies a challenge on us all. We must answer the call to choose action over comfort in our own defining moments, to lead with strength, to find in our own crowded hours the courage to change the world.
For your safety, please remain in place. Once all drones have landed, you can make your way back to the stage and our program will resume.
Ladies and gentlemen, what did we think of the drone show? The good news is that was only the first of two. We have another drone show coming up at 10:30. 1,776 drones are going to be flying again, this time telling the story of Theodore Roosevelt's leadership in the sky. We are going to be running continuous shuttles, so if anyone would like to depart before the second drone show, these 45 minutes are the best time to do so. Once we are clear and the drones have landed, they'll begin letting people go back to shuttles. If you would like to stay for the second show, that show will begin at 10:30. And we are going to hear once again from the Army Band, the Army National Guard Band. So yes, let's see if we can give them a round of applause to get them out here. It has been an absolutely stunningly beautiful day here in Medora. For those that are exiting, we're just continuing to hold for just one moment. The drones are still in the air. They need to be safely landed before we can let you proceed to the shuttles. So please just have patience for one more moment while we confirm with our pilots that the drones have indeed landed. Once they've landed, we'll let you go ahead and proceed to the shuttles. For those of us who are staying with us for the 10:30 show, you're going to continue to be entertained, inspired, feeling the patriotic moment of the 250th anniversary of America. And when we come back out, we're going to have to once again motivate those drones to get back in the sky. Right, Alton?
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got to make sure that when we come back out, we give another 10-second countdown, and we end with Bully, or they just can't quite get up into the sky. But until then, I want to go ahead and reintroduce the absolutely fantastic 188th Army National Guard Army Band of North Dakota. Thank you very much. We'll see you again at 10:30.
Our program will resume shortly. Thank you for your patience. Once again, thanks for being with us tonight to share this evening of tribute and celebration. The first piece for this last portion of the concert is Heroic Fanfare, written by Paul Murtha. It was originally written for the United States Army Band, Pershing's own, located in Washington, D.C., to honor the heroic men and women of the New York City Fire Department, Police Department, and Transit Authority who lost their lives in the line of duty on September 11, 2001. The opening statement between the trumpet and trombones is a representation of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, while the bass drum and timpani represent their destruction and the loss of life. The bold fanfare that follows signifies the strength and determination to overcome adversity, musically displaying the resolve and resilience that our nation showed in the aftermath of the 9/11 disaster. There have been a lot of noteworthy general officers in the Army over the past 250 years, but few are more storied than John J. Blackjack Pershing. His military career culminated in being promoted to the highest rank possible in the Army, General of the Armies, which is a senior to the 5-star General of the Army rank. Pershing is the only general to date to be promoted to this rank while living, only joined by George Washington and Ulysses S. Grant, who were both posthumously awarded the same rank. Blackjack Pershing was especially known for being one of the first white officers to command an all-black regiment, the 10th Cavalry, also known as the Buffalo Soldiers, and being the appointed commander of the American Expeditionary Forces in Europe during World War I. This musical tribute to General Pershing is a mainstay in Army Band performances and is one of the 188th Army Band's marching songs for parades. Here is Blackjack. Unlike most marches, the next work begins and ends on a very quiet note, depicting the advance and retreat of the famous Lost Battalion. The Lost Battalion were 554 men in World War I from the 77th New York Division, who were not lost, but cut off during advance and surrounded by enemies from October 2nd through the 7th in 1918 during the Meuse-Argonne battle. The troops refused to surrender in spite of repeated attacks, lack of food, extreme cold, and a mistakenly placed barrage attack from their own army. Only 194 men were rescued. It was a carrier pigeon that flew over enemy lines to bring help to the battalion. This march begins with the muted sounds of a single snare drum. The sound becomes, and as the battalion approaches, the sound becomes louder and louder, only to fade away again as the battalion marches into oblivion. This work was composed by famed North Dakota composer James Ployhar. This is March of the Last Battalion. The 188th Army Band's history can be traced back to its attachment to the 164th Infantry Division. The 164th Infantry was the first Army unit to engage the enemy in World War II with the Marines at Guadalcanal. The 164th Infantry's regimental march, Salute to the Sultan, is an Oriental or Persian-style march that was originally written to accompany wild animal acts in the circus. The composer Carl King often wrote pieces under different pseudonyms, which was common practice at the time. This march was written under the pseudonym Carl Lawrence. Another interesting fact about this work is that there is not a key change at the trio section, a rare attribute of a modern-day march. Here is the 164th Infantry's Regimental March, Salute to the Sultan. Our next piece, Salvation is Created, was originally a choral work composed by Pavel Chesnikov in 1912 as the fifth of his 10 communion hymns. It was one of the last sacred works he composed before he turned to secular arts when the Soviet government began to suppress Christianity. And this arrangement, arranged by Bruce Hosknecht in 1957, is considered a standard in the literature of wind bands. This is Salvation is Created. America has been built on the ideals of strong community and supporting each other through thick and thin. Whether bonded by faith, family, community, service, a disaster, inactivity, or any other reason, we have stood tall together and shared many burdens and celebrations. Our next selection, You Raise Me Up, embodies the message of connection and the many powers, whether spiritual or human, that inspire us to keep pushing through challenging times. It is a reminder that we are not alone, and a thank you to those in our sphere that continue to cheer for us and help us along our journey.
When troubles come and my heart burden me, then I am still and waiting in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas, and I am strong when I am on your shoulder. You raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so imperfectly. But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulder. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas, and I am strong when I am on your shoulder. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out to enjoy this awesome atmosphere that's been built. We want to say a couple awesome thank yous There's an amazing sound team that's been helping us throughout our time here. We didn't have to bring any of our own sound equipment, and it's the folks from Livewire who are helping us out. Would you please give them a huge round of applause? The next group I want to thank are the planners and organizers that we've been working with for 6 months to help organize the events, festivities, and concerts that have been happening, all the live music performances. We've been working with a couple people specifically, but the group is called the Do For Collaborative, and they've been so amazing to work with. Would you please give them a round of applause? Last but certainly not least, the most important happening of this Freedom 250 is this awesome library. And I want to say a massive thank you to the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library Committee and the sponsors, the donors who made this happen, their CEO for having the vision and working through this and also inviting us out. But let's give a huge round of applause to the Theodore Roosevelt Library team. Next, we're going to have a small breakout from our saxophone ensemble, and they're going to be playing America the Beautiful with a poem by Johnny Cash, Old Ragged Flag, spoken over the top by Sergeant First Class Nathan Johnson. Would you please welcome our saxophone ensemble to the stage?
I walked through a county courthouse square. On a park bench, an old man sat there. I said, "Your old courthouse there is kind of run down, and your flagpole has leaned a bit. And that is a ragged old flag you've got hanging off of it." He said, "Have a seat." So I sat down. He asked, "Is this your first trip to our little town?" I said, "I think it is." He said, "Well, we don't like to brag, but we're kind of proud of that ragged old flag. You see, we got a hole in that flag right there when Washington took it across the Delaware. And it got powder burned the night Francis Scott Key sat watching it, writing, 'Say, can you see?' And it got a bad rip down in New Orleans, with Packingham and Jackson tugging at its seams. It almost fell at the Alamo beside the Texas flag, but she waved on through. She got cut at Chancellorsville, and she got cut again at Shiloh Hill. There was Robert E. Lee, Beauregard, and Bragg, and that south wind blew mighty hard on that ragged old flag. On Flanders Field in World War I, she got a big hole from a Bertha gun. She turned blood red in World War II, and she's hung limp and low a time or two. She was in Korea and Vietnam. She went where she was sent by her Uncle Sam. She's waved from our ships upon the briny foam, and now they've all but quit waving her here at home. She, in her own great country, she's been abused. She's been burned, dishonored, denied, and refused. And the government for which she stands is scandalized throughout the land. And she's getting threadbare and she's wearing thin. But she's in pretty good shape for the shape she's in, 'cause she's been through the fire before, and I think she can take a whole lot more. So we raise her up every morning, we take her down every night. We do not let her touch the ground, and we fold her up right. On second thought, I do like to brag, 'cause I'm mighty proud of that ragged old flag.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight for this concert and celebration of 250 years of America. Our final selection, originally composed in 1918, God Bless America, became popular in 1938. As I was. Our saxophone quartet will now perform another piece, Wade in the Water. Enjoy. Once again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out for this performance in honor of America's 250th birthday. And shortly now, the drone show will begin. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage the Chief Executive Officer of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library, Edward F. O'Keefe.
Let's give a huge round of applause to the 188th Army Band of the North Dakota Army National Guard. Thank you, sir. Thank you not only for your service to our country, but to those amazing, amazing patriotic and inspiring songs. I have two special guests here with me. I've got my son, Alton O'Keefe, and I have Claire Roosevelt, the great, great, great granddaughter of Theodore Roosevelt. And we have to do two very important things to get these drones to come on out. Number one, we've got to shut down the lights in the TR library, so please turn out the lights. And number two, we're gonna come back here when there is 10 seconds left to count down. And it's critically important that we count down these 10 seconds so the drones just won't fly. We've had 1,776 drones ready to fly and do Theodore Roosevelt's Life in the Night Skies over the Badlands of Medora. So when we come back out, Claire and Alton are going to tell you the key word after we count down from 10. What is the word that everyone needs to say in unison after the countdown?
Bully.
Bully! All right, we'll see you when we've got 10 seconds till show. Be ready to say bully after that countdown. See you soon.
Mission Control, we are T-minus 5 minutes to launch. Mission Control, we are T-minus 4 minutes to launch. Mission Control, we are T-minus 3 minutes to launch. Mission Control, we are T-minus 2 minutes to launch. Mission Control, we are T-minus 1 minute to launch.
Are you ready for 1,776 drones? Then let's count it down with the Roosevelts and the O'Keeffes. We gotta go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bully! Let the show begin!
Tonight, under these North Dakota skies, we stand where Theodore Roosevelt once stood, humbled by this land, called in service to this country, and awed by the beauty of the Badlands. As we celebrate the nation's 250th birthday, we believe, as Theodore Roosevelt did, that the best of America is still to come. Happy Independence Day, and welcome to the grand opening of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library. Let the show begin. As a sickly child, Theodore Roosevelt developed a lifelong fascination with the natural world. It sparked his curiosity, ignited his imagination, and propelled him to discovery. He arrived in these Dakota Badlands heartbroken by the tragic double loss of his wife and mother. He left transformed. In this wild landscape, he felt the restorative and healing power of nature. Roosevelt knew that our rivers, forests, mountains, canyons, and grasslands are America's greatest treasure. The old world has their castles and cathedrals, but we too have ancient monuments. We have natural wonders, and ours grow only more precious with time. But even then, Roosevelt saw those natural wonders were under threat. Sitting squarely in the crosshairs of those who saw only gain today, with no eye on tomorrow. Roosevelt believed something radical. Nature is our American birthright. Our national parks are our best idea. And conservation is democracy in action. Every one of us deserves to stand in a forest so tall its treetops seem to touch heaven. To climb mountains towering and unbound. To feel the thunder of a herd of bison. We have fallen heirs to the most glorious heritage a people ever received, he said. And each one must do his part if we wish to show that the nation is worthy of its good fortune. We are not the owners of this land, only its stewards for those who follow. And we have a sacred duty to guard and use it wisely. What we steward today, we pass on for tomorrow. The land belongs to no one and everyone at the same time. Roosevelt conserved 230 million acres, more than any president before or since. He left us with a challenge: to leave this place better and more beautiful than we found it. For everyone. For our children. For our children's children. And all who come after us.
For your safety, please remain in place. Once all drones have landed, we will illuminate a safe exit path.